Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinavandapate Govista Govika Nanda Radha Namostute Trapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubheshcha Kripa Sindhu Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Ramasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. So, Prabhuji, Soni Mataji will be hosting today. Soni Mataji, kindly continue. Hare Krishna.
So we'll do the Sanskrit, then we'll go to the translation and the purport. Sarva dvarino samyamya mano hridi nirudheyacha murdhani adhyatmana pranam hastita yoga dharanam. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The yogic situation is that of detachment from all sensual engagements, closing all the doors of the senses and fixing the mind on the heart and the life air at the top of the head. One establishes himself in yoga. I don't know if someone likes to read the purport.
Shall I read it, Prabhu?
Yes.
Hare Krishna. Avinash Prabhuji, kindly read the purport.
Okay. The purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. To practice yoga, as suggested here, one first has to close the doors of all sense enjoyment. This practice is called pratyahara, or withdrawing the senses from the sense objects. The sense organs for acquiring knowledge, the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and touch, should be fully controlled and should not be allowed to engage in sense gratification. In this way, the mind focuses on the supersoul in the heart, and the life force is raised to the top of the head. In the 6th chapter, this process is described in detail. But as mentioned above, this practice is not practical in this age. The best process is Krishna consciousness. If one is always able to fix his mind on Krishna in devotional service, it is very easy for him to remain in an undisturbed transcendental trance or in samadhi. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. So we'll go to the point Sri Prabhupada is mentioning here. First of all, now the yoga which is mentioned in this particular verse is Ashtanga Yoga to Arjuna. And Arjuna is being advised by Krishna that first of all, one is to close all the doors of sense enjoyment. You find that the mind becomes different to enjoy different senses, especially the working sense, knowledge gathering senses are very active. For example, the eyes, the nose, the ears, the taste, skin, all these are always active. And we have to make sure that when you are practicing yoga, especially Ashtanga yoga, then you have to stay away from them and keep the sense objects away from the mind. And in Sanskrit, that is called pratyahara. In the 6th chapter, 8, Ashta means 8. Yam, Niyam, Dhyana, Dharana, Pratyahara, and so on. Pratyahara means that while performing yoga, you'll see some vision, some pictures coming in your mind, which is natural. Some sound, maybe some music or something. Thinking of some taste, some touch, some smell, fragrance, and so on. And this can interrupt your yoga. So you have to stay away from them. And in the case of Ashtanga yoga, the yogi is supposed to meditate upon Paramatma, or the super soul, or the Lord in the heart, which is the Vishnu form, 400 Vishnu form, who is situated in the heart of everyone. So this process was described very nicely, that if you can fix your mind on the super soul, then you're supposed to raise your life air. It means you have to sit in a lotus position and raise your life air up. Up means to bring it at least up to here. In the verse, it is the word has been mentioned, murdani. Murdani means on the head. You take the life air up. In this way, one will free oneself from contamination while performing yoga. Now, this particular practice is not practical in this age of Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is very disturbing. And it may be possible for maybe a few or 1 or 2 people who can go to a forest, live in a secluded place, practice celibacy, remain very clean, live a very simple life. Then it's possible. But it is not practical in this age of Kali Yuga. However, in this age of Kali Yuga, by practicing Bhakti Yoga, Bhakti means to offer all our senses in the service of Krishna. Nathwani says, Sarva Upadi Vinirmukta Tatparatvena Nirmalam Rishikesha Rishikena Sevanam Bhakti Uchyate. If one can offer all the senses in the service of Krishna, first of all, give up all the Upadi. Upadi means all the mental disturbances. The more you are on a material platform, your mind will remain disturbed. For example, Sarva Upadi also means you have to be above the bodily platform, number one. And then later on, beyond even the sensual or mental platform, that is called Sarva Upadi Vinirmukta. The more one says, I am this body, I am a man, I am a woman, I am this color, I am that religion, so many designations. These designations are also called, actually the meaning of this designation in Sanskrit is called Upadi. You have to give up all this and raise yourself to a spiritual standard. That is how one performs Bhakti Yoga. But Bhakti Yoga is very natural. Anyone can perform. How can it be done? And how can all these senses be controlled? I think earlier I had given you 5 examples, if you remember, of sense object and senses. And 5 examples I had quoted. And if you have forgotten, I'll just repeat them for you. For example, if you see a fish in water, when the fish is swimming, the mouth is always open and it likes to, whatever it likes, it just likes to gobble and put it in the mouth. And this way the fish gets trapped by the hook of the fisherman, who puts the bait on the hook and the fish gets trapped. The second example is that of the touch. To capture an elephant, they train a female elephant and then bring that female elephant towards a very big pit. And then the female elephant will not fall in, but the male will fall in because of the touch of the female elephant, runs behind that female elephant. So that is called touch. Fish was the taste, the touch is the elephant. Then the form. Moths, they don't have very good vision. They're not like butterflies. But moth at night, when they see some bright thing, they just rush in. And in most cases, if they see fire burning, they don't know that it is fire. And they'll just jump inside and they'll die. And a bee likes to collect honey. And it goes from a flower to flower. And there are some flowers, when it becomes dark, they close and the bee can get trapped inside. And the last one is that of the sound. The sound is the deer. In order to catch a deer, what does a hunter do? He plays a nice rhythmic flute, and the deers will come and sit very close to the hunter, and he will capture. He keeps his ropes ready, and he'll tie the deer and pull him and take him away. So these are 5 examples given in the Shastras, how each sense gets trapped. But on the other hand, if all our senses are used in the service of Krishna, especially ears and mouth, then all other senses can be controlled. Srila Rupa Goswami says, Atashi Krishna Namadi na bhavet grayan India, sevan mukhehi jivado, sayameva srutiyada. That our senses are blind, they are not pure. Not blind, they are blunt. Since they are not, and they are material, they are materially contaminated. So this senses cannot reveal Krishna to you. But however, on the other hand, he says, Sevan mukhehi jivado. If the tongue is used in the service of Krishna, Sevan mukhe jiva ado. Ado means senses followed by ears, eyes, and so on. Then what happens? All the senses will go towards Krishna. And that is the secret of Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga means to offer all our senses in the service of Krishna and do not misuse it. At times, even when we become alert, our senses can cheat us. So that's why Srila Prabhupada recommends all the time one should be chanting Harekrshn. By chanting Harekrshn, not only will he be connected to Krishna, but it will force the mind to think of Krishna. That's why, taking the example of Ambarish Maharaj. Ambarish Maharaj, the first line says that Savai Mana Krishna Padar Avindayo. He used to keep his mind at the feet of Krishna and always think of Krishna. Vachamsi Vaikunte Gunarnavannam. Use this tongue to glorify Krishna, the name, the form, pastimes, and so on. So when all the senses are engaged in the service of Krishna, there's no danger of our senses becoming contaminated. Because all the time, one can think of Krishna. Now, many people who stay not in the temple but outside the temple, they say, how is it possible? We don't stay in the temple. How is it possible? But the principle is the same, whether you stay in the temple or you stay outside the temple. If your senses can remain Krishna conscious or in the service of Krishna, there's no danger at all. Because you notice, you and I have a personal experience, that there are some devotees who stay outside the temple and maybe even far away from the temple, but they are constantly thinking of Krishna, constantly. So when they come to temple, we can see by their movements, by their actions, by their words, by the surrender, the way they take darshan, we actually see that they have a lot of love for Krishna. And sometimes the people who stay in the temple may not have that same kind of attraction because they say, oh, it's easier. And really speaking, practically speaking, I can say in a very simple words that there are people who stay far away from temple, but the mind is in Krishna. And there are people who stay in the temple, but their mind is far away. Now all is centered around one's mind. If you go to your 6th chapter, just go back to your, for those who have Bhagavad Gita in their hand, I show you the verse. It's a quotation Srila Prabhupada gives. Let me give you the exact verse. Either it's 6:5 or 6:6. Yeah, it's 6:5. If you go to the purport, it says, Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshaya. Bandhaya vishaya shango muktai nirvishayam mana. Translation is, for man, mind is the cause of bondage, and the mind is the cause of liberation. Mind absorbed in sense object is the cause of bondage, and the mind detached from sense objects is the cause of liberation. This is quotation from Amrita Bindu Upanishad 2. Therefore, the mind which is always engaged in Krishna consciousness is the cause of supreme liberation. So those who have Bhagavad Gita, please mark this verse, very important verse. And this verse practically is useful to be read daily and understood daily, because mind is always flickering, all the time giving us trouble, a lot of trouble, because mind is by nature very active. It can go to hundreds and hundreds, even thousands of places. And to again bring it back, in most cases, it may not be easy. Your mind can go very, very far away. I give you a practical example. In your earlier life, you may have had some friendship with someone, and maybe that friend is gone, or maybe the friend is dead, or the friend may be alive also. And you can think of that friend, and your mind is with the friend. Let's say the friend is going to London or America, and then you'll think, oh, what my friend must be doing at this time. So mind goes very, very far. Then to recollect the mind and bring it back, it needs an effort. So one should know how to capture the mind, bring it in control, which is not possible by our own endeavor. On the other hand, if you can give your mind and senses, not just the mind, because mind has so many senses. It's like a chariot with many horses. So just like many horses, like many senses, they are all grouped about the mind. In the 15th chapter, Krishna says, Manasastani Indriyani Prakritistani Karshati. It means, Karshati means struggle. It's a constant struggle of the mind with the senses. It goes here and there, here and there. So that active mind has to be brought in one place. And it has to be done very nicely, not by force. Sometimes if you use too much force, the mind can jump like a spring. Like you take a spring, you press it, and you press it hard, and the moment you leave, the spring will jump out. So you don't allow the mind to act like a spring. No, you should know how to train the mind, and active mind make it very, very steady and bring it under your control, which can be done if you can control all your senses. Then the mind can be controlled, because the mind remains always active with different objects. There's some vision which can capture you. Sight can, picture can capture your mind. Sound can capture your mind. Smell can capture your mind. Taste and the skin. All these are grouped above the mind, and they can drag the mind far away. So one has to remain austere, keep the mind austere. What is the austerity of the mind is explained in the 7th chapter. Krishna says, austerity of the mind, number one, is to remain satisfied. The nearest English word is to remain content. Keep your mind content. Don't be too passionate. Whatever Krishna has given you, be happy with that. That is called a satisfied mind. And live a very simple mind. Simple mind, if you are very truthful, is a supplement for a simple mind. The people who are devotees by nature, especially pure devotees, one thing is very common in all pure devotees: they are very simple-minded, and their dealing is very straight. And then there has to be gravity in the mind. Don't allow small things to spoil your mind. Sometimes people can taunt you, people can abuse you, people can even praise you, or sometimes you may have had a bad day, or maybe you did not get the results of your work. Don't let these things spoil your mind. That is called gravity of the mind. And self-control means that all the senses, you should know where your senses can get spoiled, where your senses can remain controlled. So earlier I had given you the example of a tortoise. A tortoise is able to withdraw all the limbs and the head within the shell when it is in danger. In the similar way, one who is practicing Krishna consciousness, he knows, no, this is not the right place. This is not the right thing to see. This is not the right fragrance to smell. Or this is not the right food to eat, taste, and not the right thing to touch. In this way, one is able to, it needs an experience. Anyone who is chanting regularly Hare Krishna, you'll find that he knows where his mind will become spoiled. So he is able to capture his mind and bring it back. So when you capture, when you keep your mind, practice austerity of the mind, then the final thing is you have to keep yourself purified. Sattva samshuddhi. Sattva samshuddhi. In the 13th chapter, this is explained. How can it be done? Can be done by regular hearing, regular chanting, especially in the community of devotees. Sit with a community of devotees, with devotees all around you. Read especially Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita. And if you discuss with them, then that will keep your mind very healthy. This is called purifying the mind. It's even after many, many years, it's not that the mind can become purified at once. No, it takes years before mind can become purified. So it's something which has to be practiced daily. It's not something which can be achieved in one day. And even if you achieve in one day, it's not going to last, because next day you will have again another problem. So all the time, or each time we try to practice, we have to see that we do better and better and better. And don't be too heavy on your mind. What happens sometimes, devotees, when, especially those who are neophytes, new, if something goes wrong, they become so angry with the mind that they become temperamental, and ultimately they spoil the whole mind, that they even stop chanting. Don't do that. Because your mind is your property. Your mind is your friend. I mean, your property, you have to make friends with your mind. In this way, you'll be able to control the mind. And best way it can be done, there are verses in a line. If you go to the 2nd chapter, in the 66th verse of the 2nd chapter, it says, if one is not connected to Krishna, one cannot have transcendental intelligence or steady mind. It is not possible. So how can you be peaceful? Without a peaceful mind, you cannot practice Krishna consciousness. Not possible. To practice Krishna consciousness, you have to be peaceful. And I think all of you know the peace formula. Would anyone like to attempt and speak the verse, which Sri Prabhupada calls as a peace formula? Anybody knows the verse? You can share with me. Anybody remembers? Anybody likes to? Hare Krishna. Do you know the verse of the 5th chapter, last verse? Bhoktaram yagyatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram Shuridam sarvabhutanam datva mam shanti vichiti. Yeah, somebody likes to speak the translation? Yes, someone called Kiran. Would you like to try?
Kiran Mataji, can you mute? I think.
Okay. Avinash Prabhu, you can speak the peace formula, the verse. No, unmute yourself, Avinash. You're not unmuted.
Okay,
yeah,
so
okay.
Bhoktaram Yagnatapasam 1, yeah?
Yeah.
The translation, a person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries.
Yeah, so those who are listening, thank you, Avinash Prabhu. This is called the peace formula, the verse which we all have to know three things. That Krishna is the benefactor or the enjoyer, number one. Number two, Krishna is the supreme proprietor. And number three is Krishna is our best well-wisher. If one knows these three things, then one can become peaceful. In the text number 267, Krishna told Arjuna that one of the roaming senses can drive the mind far away, like a boat can be driven away by strong wind. You find when there's very strong wind, and if the boat, the one with the sail, like a dhow, it can be pushed very far away towards the direction of the wind. In the similar way, even one of our senses, roaming senses, can drift the whole mind far away. So we have to first thing, very first thing, or the very first duty of all of us, those who are practicing Krishna consciousness, is to not to allow your senses to be spoiled or be drifted far away. Don't do that. And if you think it has gone far away, then try to bring it back. Just like those who are driving a motor car, if they are very new and sometimes by mistake the car goes off the road, veers off the road, then you bring it back. In the similar way, you have to bring your mind back. And in the 68, it says that just like in a war, the enemies are curbed with a superior force. In the similar way, by a superior force of Krishna consciousness, one can curb the senses of becoming contaminated. Those senses becoming contaminated over and over, again and again. And what keeps the force of Krishna consciousness strong is our force of Krishna consciousness. Sri Prabhupada says purity is the force. If you remain pure, you'll be forceful in performing your Krishna consciousness. Time to time, you'll wake up. Time to time, you'll take your bath. You'll perform your Mangala Arati. You're chanting your rounds. Time to time, if you are worshipping your deity, you worship your deity. Time to time, you read your scriptures or hear scriptures, associate with devotees. This keeps one very much in the force of Krishna consciousness. So this has to be done regularly and every day. So Sri Prabhupada, the last part of the purport says that the best process is Krishna consciousness. One is able to fix his mind on Krishna in devotional service. It is very easy for him to remain in an undisturbed transcendental trance or in samadhi. Samadhi means concentration. Like even while explaining Ashtanga Yoga, the last word is samadhi. It starts with yam. Yam, niyam, dhyan, dharana, pratyahara. Last word comes is samadhi. To fix your mind upon Krishna. That's the same rule is applicable even in Krishna consciousness. You find that you should always remain in connection with Krishna, and then you are successful. You can keep yourself connected to Krishna, you are a successful person. You'll find that those who are not very experienced, they say, oh, today my devotion was no good, my service was no good, my chanting was no good. It doesn't matter. You have to keep trying again and again and again. And those who have a Bhagavad Gita in your hand, just go to 6th chapter, verse number 24. Very first line, Sri Prabhupada gives us an encouragement. Read these words of Prabhupada. If you have Bhagavad Gita in your hand, open the 6th chapter, verse number 24. Go straight to the purport. I'll read the line for you. The yoga practitioner should be determined and should patiently prosecute the practice without deviation. One should be sure of success at the end and pursue this course with great perseverance, not becoming discouraged if there is any delay in the attainment of success. Success is sure for the rigid practitioner. Remember these words of Prabhupada. And keep these words of Prabhupada. Or if you have a pencil or pen in your hand, you can underline these 2 lines. Very important, which you can read daily. And how do you apply? For example, today your chanting was not good. Or today maybe your class was not good. Your hearing was not good. But you have to try that. I'll try to do it tomorrow. Better, better, better. His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj says, in the beginning, you may have to use some force, but later on, go for the quality service, including chanting. If you can chant with a good quality, you'll become a good devotee. There is no doubt about it. Because our Krishna consciousness is very much dependent on how well we serve the holy name. Very, very important. That's why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that in this age of Kali Yuga, there's no other process. Nama Vinu Kali Kale Nahi Ara Dharma. In the next line it says that in this line it says, in this age of Kali Yuga, there is no other practice other than chanting the holy name. And in the second line it says, that is the essence of all the Shastras. If you read all the scriptures, you'll come to this point that everything is dependent on how well we can chant the holy name. So if you chant the holy name with a lot of sincerity, which needs a lot of faith, and we practice the process properly, and choose a time to chant Hare Krishna when your mind is very calm, or even when it is disturbed. At that time, you should try to keep your mind as humble as possible and chant the holy name. Then you'll see the results coming instant. And you'd feel that next day I can still do better. In this way, Srila Prabhupada, in this particular verse of the 6th chapter, verse number 24, is giving us a lot of encouragement. And Rupa Goswami still adds more, encouragement by saying that one should practice Bhakti Yoga with full-hearted enthusiasm. Number one is enthusiasm. Nishchaya means determination, perseverance. Dharyat means patience. And Tat Karma Pravartana means following the 9 limbs of devotional service. Sangha Tyagat, giving up bad association. By following these 6 processes, one will advance in Krishna consciousness. So one can get the same result as the result of Ashtanga Yogi by practicing Bhakti Yoga, rather even better than Ashtanga Yoga. Because Ashtanga Yoga is difficult. It needs a lot of austerity. In Krishna consciousness, there is austerity, but to the minimum. And one can get the best results by practicing Krishna consciousness. So Krishna consciousness means Gao Krishna, chant Hare Krishna. Khao Krishna means eat Krishna Prasad. And Karo Krishna Shiksha. Shiksha means hear Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. 3 things if one can do, one can become Krishna conscious in a very short time. It's not difficult. It depends on one's individual effort. It's not that you have to put even a lot of effort. No. In other words, not even an effort, I would say, just needs discipline, a good discipline. If one follows this simple discipline, one can achieve the highest goal in one's life, of which there is no doubt. So that is the aim of this purport, trying to explain to us that this process, the practice which the verse is saying, is not possible in the age of Kali Yuga. But Bhakti Yoga is possible. And if one can fix the mind on Krishna, then one can reach Samadhi very quickly. So remember the verse of Narad Muni, Sarva Upadi Vinirmukta Tatparatvena Nirvalam. Give up all the designations and become situated in Krishna consciousness. In other words, in simple layman's language, don't keep tension on your mind. Keep your mind clear of the tension. I've seen that working people, even when I used to work, when you are in a working condition, in your working place, the mind has a lot of things going on. By the time you leave the working place and come home, then the mind becomes calm. And then you should remain calm and offer that mind in the service of Krishna. Of course, Krishna has already advised in this very chapter, in the verse number 7, that at all times think of me, even while performing your prescribed duty. He had said this in the chapter 8, verse number 7, if I'm not wrong. Yes. In the verse number 7, Krishna had said that you should always think of me in the form of Krishna. At the same time, carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. With your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. So already Krishna said that it's not just for people who are at home or in the temple. This principle is applicable to everyone. Tasmat sarveshu kalishu. Sarva means all, kalishu means all the time. Kala means time. All the time, think of Krishna, which can be done in the purport Srila Prabhupada said by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. You simply have to chant and hear this mantra with your own ears. While you're speaking, it should go to the ear. And if you do that, then success is there. No doubt about it. And try to keep yourself very calm at the old time. In the modern English, you can say, keep yourself cool. Keep yourself very cool. Very steady mind. That is called a cool mind. Let these small things not disturb you. And you'll find that when your mind is very peaceful, or your nature is very peaceful, and your attitude is very friendly with everyone, and you can control your senses very nicely. But don't pretend. Do it genuinely, honestly, and you see the results come in. So it's something which is not achieved or which cannot be achieved in one day. It takes some time. It may take short time for some people, but for most people, it takes maybe a few years and you can achieve it. It's not that it is impossible. No, it is possible. Sometimes we blame other people. Oh, because of you, I cannot practice Krishna consciousness. And sometimes we try to become too happy, or we go through a very happy condition and we forget our Krishna consciousness. So both the conditions are dangerous. Try to remain in between. Remain in between and remain Krishna consciousness by keeping yourself very calm, very cool, and very much steady. Keep your mind steady. At times it is not easy because the world or the environment is as such that it is always disturbing you most of the times. So we should keep our mind calm. Don't allow your mind to become agitated, especially by your sense objects or by your thoughts. And to get nice thoughts, one is to hear or read Krishna conscious literature, not any other literature. In the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it says, if you go to a bookshop, you find thousands of books, but any books that do not glorify the Supreme Lord is a useless book. On the other hand, if there is any literature which glorifies the Supreme Lord, may not be written very nicely or grammatically, may not be correct, but still the effect will be that after reading that or hearing that, you will think of Krishna, of which there is no doubt. So Srila Prabhupada, to end up, I'll give you one example. Srila Prabhupada says, rather two examples. One is that of a swan and that of a crow. A crow is found in dirty areas, and a swan is found in beautiful, clean areas. So you can make your mind like a swan, not like a crow. Keep your mind clean. The second example is that of a fly, a house fly, and a bee. A house fly will always go to places which are sticky, dirty, smelling, filthy areas. Whereas a bee will go to very sweet place, a place where there's a sweet fragrance of beautiful flowers. So you can keep your mind like a bee, not like a housefly. So these are two examples Srila Prabhupada gives in many lectures. That after all, you are the practitioner, after all, you are the doer. So you are responsible for your own Krishna consciousness. So practice it the way Sri Prabhupada says here. Anyway, the conclusion of this property is that the process of the yogic way of detaching the mind from the sense objects is not very practical in the Ashtanga Yoga, but it is 100% practical in Bhakti Yoga. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Any questions if you have?
Anyone with the questions?
Any clarification, any doubts? I hope it's a bit of a technical class, so may be difficult unless you are practicing Hare Krishna, chanting regularly. So no questions today? No comments? No clarification?
Any?
Rukma, Ravi.
Ravi Prabhu has got questions.
Yeah, he can raise a speak out. Yes, Ravi Prabhu.
Okay. So, Rukma, this question I've asked before at different things. Besides, of course, Kirtan is one of my most, I love listening to the Kirtan. And
Yes.
but I don't seem to have the attraction for the deities.
For
The deities.
it doesn't matter.
Somehow, when I'm at the temple, I see some people stand in front of the deity, really absorbed.
Yes. Different
I'm
people.
unable to see that.
Yeah. So what is your question now then? That you are not attracted to the deity, but you are attracted to the holy name, yeah?
Correct.
So you are doing okay. That is okay. You get attracted to the holy name. If you like Kirtan, even while Kirtan is going on, it's very pleasing because of the musical instrument, but make sure that you are hearing the holy name, not the music. So you're doing okay. And a time will come from the name, you like the attractive form of Krishna. You not like the deity if you're not hearing Krishna Katha. If you are hearing Krishna Katha, then you like the deity. For example, like yesterday, or maybe in this week, if you will be hearing about Krishna's punishing Kamalia or lifting Govardhan. So if it is in your mind, when you come to the temple, when you look at Krishna, your mind is bound to become attracted to Krishna. And at least for some time, you can become absorbed in Krishna. So if you are not hearing about Krishna, Krishna Katha, or even Ram Katha, or even Narsingha Katha, all these are very, very important in Bhagavatam. Then don't expect yourself to be attracted to the deity. No. One will only be attracted to the deity if one hears about Krishna, not otherwise. But if you're attracted to Kirtan and sound of the holy name, you're doing fine. So don't worry. A time will come, you'll be attracted. Okay, Ravi Prabhu?
Lovely. Thank you. It's reassuring.
Yeah.
Any more questions or comments?
It was a nice class, Prabhuji, not to take in.
Okay, thank you very much.
Rukma Prabhu, if anyone hasn't got any question, I just have got a request of the subject actually.
No problem. Yeah, carry on. Mm-hmm.
We have got Narottam Das Thakur's appearance there tomorrow.
Okay.
Do you mind saying something about Narottam Das Thakur?
Yes.
Please.
I'll speak, but it's very long. I'll try to shorten it.
Narottam
Das Thakur actually. Okay. Narottam is the son of a very rich man. His father was a king. And from the very young age, he was attracted to Krishna consciousness naturally. How? Because even before Narottam Das had appeared, there is a river where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was passing. I think it's called River Padma. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was passing there, when he saw the river, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu shouted, Narottam, Narottam, Narottam. So everyone was amazed, whom are you calling? There's no one here. He says, one day near this river, I am putting my love into this river. And one day this boy called Narottam will come here, and when he takes bath in this river, which is a celestial lady, she will keep this love reserved for him. And the day Narottam Das Thakur, who later will become Narottam Das Thakur, because we will all be gone, the next generation, which is the next person to take up Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, one of them is Narottam Das Thakur, Srinivas, and the third one is Shyamanand Pandit. These three, but of which Narottam Das is most prominent. So when he was born very special, and his father noticed that he is always engaged in service of Krishna. His mind is constantly thinking of Krishna. And his father was fearing that one day he'll become a sadhu. And one day that did happen like that. In the dream, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared. He says, go to the river tomorrow. And he went to take a bath at the river. And the moment he came out of the bath after taking the river, or while he was taking the bath in the river, he saw a golden personality entering into him. And he stood there in the river. And when he came out of the river, and he stood there for hours, the parents were looking, where is he gone? And when they came to see him, they saw that even his body color had changed from the normal color to a golden color. And he looked effulgent. And he requested his parents that please let me go and serve Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then later the parents had no other option. He leaves the home and he follows the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And many, many incidents happen in his life. One of the greatest incidents is there's a town called Kheturi. Now it is in the Bangladesh. In those times, the Pakistan was not separated. I mean, Bangladesh was not separated from India. Now that town is still there, Kheturi. He is the first person who performed or he celebrated Gaur Purnima, the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he did such a nice kirtan that all the Panch Tattva appeared there. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in the kirtan personally. Nityanand appeared in the kirtan, Advaita, Srivas, and Gadadhar. And the wife of Nityanand Prabhu was already there as a widow. And then she saw her own husband. She was shocked. And she saw that the kirtan of Narottam Das Thakur can attract Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So the same principle we have to learn, that if you chant Hare Krishna, you perform kirtan very nicely with love and devotion, then don't forget Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, along with all the associates, will attend your kirtan. So this is one of the very special incident in Narottam Das Thakur's life. And there are many, many other incidents. So in short, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when all others had left, the next mission was carried on by Narottam Das Thakur, Srinivas Pandit, and Shyamanand Pandit. These three were the three good associates who carried on the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is the short version I can tell you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
All right. You should read his literature tomorrow. Books available of Narottam Das Thakur. It's called Prema Vilas. Read that book. You can read it.
Prema Vilas. Okay.
Prem Vilas. Yeah. There's a mention of, and there's a Mataji who has released a book. If you give me a minute, it can be in my book, in my cupboard here. Let me see if it is around. I think I borrowed it to somebody. It's a maroon book. It's a book on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the Mataji, I forget the name. Yeah, Shitala Mataji. She's called Shitala Mataji. She's written very nicely. You read this book. It is on Narottam Das Thakur's life. How, how he lived, how he came up, and how he remained Krishna conscious all the time. And one of the amazing things about Narottam Das Thakur is when he left his body. Because when he was leaving the body, the disciples were crying. And some people said, no, we want to take your body somewhere. Narottam Das Thakur said, why are you quarreling? After my going, the body has no value. And then there were some Mayavadis, some Sahijyas who wanted to do the final rituals. And Narottam Das Thakur was, okay, let me go and take a bath in the river. And when he went to enter into the river, the body became into milk. And he drained away in the milk. So nobody could get the body. It's a very special incident in Narottam Das Thakur's life.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Any more comments or questions before we close? I think we should close then, Rukma Prabhu.
Okay.
So thank you.
Very much.
Thank you for taking us through the this slok 8:12, and you told us about in this age it is not possible to go via the Ashtanga Yoga method, and it's very difficult. So we should actually train our mind to be under our control and keep the mind in austerity. And also the key thing is regular hearing, regular chanting, read Bhagavatam and commitments in the committee of devotees. And you gave us good example of the sense objects again, taste fish, if people can remember that, touch elephant, and the form and the moth and the fragrance we had bee, yeah, and the sound we had deer. And finally, you gave us a good example of a swan and in a clean area, and the crow, a dirty area, and the fly and the bee that Prabhupada gave us an example. So we should always stick in a clean area, yeah, keep our mind steady, calm, not to be attracted by the sense objects and our thoughts, or bad thoughts, rather. So thank you, Rukma Prabhu. Can we all unmute and glorify Rukma Prabhu with Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, please? So Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Rukma Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
I had a little bit of a last minute thing. Thank you for taking over.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Avinash Prabhuji, thank you for taking over.
Okay, so we need to end the session now, yeah?
Sorry?
So are you going to end the session?
Yes, I'll end the session now.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you for taking over.
No problem. Okay, Hare Bo.
Hare Krishna.